So far in this series, we've explored the case for post-quantum cryptography and seen how we can convert our current quantum vulnerable apps to bleeding-edge quantum-resistant algorithms using experimental libraries such as libOQS. But whilst it may be technically possible to operate post-quantum security today, deployment outside of test lab environments needs some careful consideration and planning. Hi there, I'm Andy, and in this video we'll be discussing the key considerations for real-world post-quantum crypto deployment, including the items you should be building into long-term roadmaps and the steps you should start taking today. We mentioned in the first video that, as I record this in mid-2023, there's no known quantum computer sufficiently capable of running Shor's algorithm on the size of numbers required to break any practical cryptographic implementation, and such a machine is unlikely to exist for at least several years. Research and development continue, however, to create more advanced quantum computers that can run Shor's algorithm at the scale required. And there's also active research into improving the algorithms used to crack crypto so as to reduce the quantum requirements and hence run on a simpler quantum computer. When will these two factors collide to actually break our current crypto systems? Well, that's anyone's guess, and it's not as simple as this graphic suggests. There's no definitive finish line because that depends on how we define whether a given crypto system is broken or not. I think we'd all agree that if an attacker can crack a given algorithm in a few minutes, then that'd be considered broken. But what if it took several weeks, or a few months, or a couple of years? Some of these periods may make it impractical for an attacker who's looking to actively intercept and interfere with an encrypted session in real time, but might be just fine for an attacker who's managed to capture some particularly sensitive data and still sees value in decrypting it years later. What's known as a store now, decrypt later attack. And however powerful quantum computers might become in the future, we're unlikely to see a big bang appearance of a device that can crack the algorithms that we use today in mere seconds. It'll be something that emerges over time. And even after such a device becomes a reality, it's likely to stay in the hands of nation states for a considerable period, so it doesn't mean it'll necessarily be available to the particular threat actors who are targeting you or your organisation. It can therefore be tempting to dismiss the security threat of quantum computing and just kick the can down the road. Upgrading crypto systems is of course no simple task. And being an early adopter of a new crypto system could come with some risks of its own. After all, our traditional algorithms have been tried and tested over decades. We know them to be safe against traditional attacks. These new post-quantum algorithms are relatively new. Are we really sure that they're safe? We've already seen one NIST post-quantum candidate, the Psych algorithm, suffer from a fatal design flaw whereby it could be broken by traditional computation, and this was only discovered very late in the selection process. It's conceivable that a similar vulnerability is discovered in one of our other post-quantum algorithms after we've migrated. So maybe we're better off sticking with our traditional algorithms for a few more years, and only start the migration when quantum attacks become more likely. This would give the community a bit more time to assess the post-quantum algorithms for any weaknesses. This is certainly a very valid strategy, and the one that most organisations will realistically adopt. But it's a position that needs to be regularly reassessed to ensure it's still meeting the appropriate risk balance, and that organisations are still allowing themselves enough time to undertake migration activities, acknowledging that making all of our applications and services quantum safe will take many, many years. Understanding the size and scale of the post-quantum migration challenge is a crucial input into this regular reassessment, and that's the purpose of having a cryptographic inventory, knowing what cryptographic libraries, algorithms and keys are used by which systems and where. Now, I'll admit that inventory is not an exciting task, but it's a fundamental task in understanding how big the problem is that we need to address. It also helps highlight which areas to prioritize over others and inform the specific remediation steps for a given system. For example, many large organizations process and store the bulk of their data in cloud SaaS services like Microsoft's O365 suite of services. So, addressing the post-quantum crypto challenge in just this one system could mitigate a significant amount of risk. We may not be able to make any practical changes until Microsoft have implemented post-quantum crypto algorithms such as Kyber and Dilithium in their services. However, it's still useful to understand what the path to migration looks like. It's a very different story when it comes to internally developed applications. Here, a developer must upgrade the application's crypto libraries with those that contain post-quantum algorithms, and then rewrite the app to call those API functions associated with the newer algorithms. Again, knowing what libraries and algorithms are in use today helps understand how many apps, and therefore how much effort, will be needed to become quantum resistant. Developers could also prioritize apps which store or process more sensitive data. And perhaps we make a risk-based decision to not upgrade apps which are of a low criticality, or are legacy systems which are expected to be replaced before quantum computers become sufficiently powerful to crack crypto. Creating a crypto inventory doesn't have to involve a load of manual effort. We can use many of our existing systems or freely available open source solutions to do a lot of the hard work for us. Take, for example, what key exchange mechanisms are used in an environment. We already saw in our previous video that we can observe the list of key exchange mechanisms supported by a client in the TLS client hello message, and the key exchange mechanism selected by the server appears in the server hello message. So we can use our existing network security monitoring tools to identify and report on these specific parameters. I created a Zeek script to do exactly that, and here's the report it produces, showing a list of the TLS servers and clients observed, which key exchange mechanisms they support, and whether they're traditional or post-quantum. Let's take a look at another example, this time assessing digital signature algorithms. Under modern versions of TLS, certificates are exchanged in an encrypted format, so our network monitoring approach won't reliably work here. But we could use a file scanning approach instead, to search for any certificate files on a file system, and report back what digital signature algorithms they contain. Here's an example of a simple script I created to do that, and here's the report it produces. Check the video description for a GitHub link to download both of these scripts. Whilst they probably won't create a 100% complete cryptographic inventory for your environments, they're there to demonstrate a point and could at least help cover some of the most common cryptographic assets. A cryptographic inventory doesn't just help us prepare for post-quantum remediation. That same dataset can be invaluable when responding to non-quantum attacks on our crypto systems too. Take, for example, the Heartbleed attack, which affected specific versions of the OpenSSL library, or Beast, which affected older versions of the TLS protocol. Knowing what cryptographic libraries, algorithms and keys are used by which systems and where would help us understand how big the risk is to our organisation and how to prioritise the response. And chances are we'll discover another one or two similar non-quantum vulnerabilities in our existing crypto systems before quantum-based attacks become a reality. Organisations who feel particularly exposed to the store now, decrypt later risk may find themselves in a difficult position of wanting to move to post-quantum crypto earlier than most, but also concerned with the possible security risks of these new, less tested algorithms. Which to choose? Why not both? This is hybrid cryptography. With hybrid crypto, we're using both a traditional algorithm and a post-quantum algorithm. This way, the post-quantum algorithm provides protection from any future quantum-based attack, and the traditional algorithm provides protection from any as-yet undiscovered weakness in the post-quantum algorithm. We've actually already seen hybrid crypto in action in the previous video. the eagle-eye viewer may have spotted something interesting in the specific variants of the Frodo and Kyber algorithms we implemented. The algorithm names are prefixed with P256. P256 is one of the common curves used in our traditional elliptic curve crypto. The key exchange in our demo here is protected with both elliptic curve crypto, using the curve P256, and post-quantum crypto, using a variant of Kyber. Hybrid crypto provides us with the best of both worlds, but encrypting or signing everything twice surely has a performance impact, right? Well, yes, that is true. As we saw in our demos, it's not a particularly significant impact. And after all, we only use these algorithms for key exchange and signing. We still use traditional symmetric crypto for the bulk of our encryption operations. If we don't feel quite ready to adopt post-quantum crypto algorithms just yet, any new systems we create today will have to continue to use traditional crypto. But they should be created with the knowledge that at some point in the future we'll want to replace that traditional crypto with post-quantum crypto. That's the mindset of cryptographic agility. It's all about avoiding any design decisions today that would make the post-quantum transition harder. Instead, we try to lay the foundations today that would facilitate a smoother migration. In practice, this means creating well-architected applications that contain a small number of flexible cryptographic routines that are called from across the app, meaning that algorithms can easily be changed in just one or two places rather than necessitating a complete rewrite. Having flexible data structures and data formats can also help. Broader system architecture may also help support cryptographic agility too. Consider a reverse proxy model for a set of web services that are not quantum safe. However, the proxy is. Our post-quantum crypto is offloaded onto the proxy, providing protection across an untrusted network, with only the final link between the proxy and the web services left potentially exposed to a quantum-based attack. Hopefully by now you have a good idea of the real risk that quantum computing poses, what options exist to manage that risk, and how to start approaching this multi-year challenge. Do let me know if there's any areas you want to explore further, as I may create some deeper dives into specific topics in the future. But for now, good luck on your post-quantum journey, and I'll see you next time.